Chapter 4, page 35. When Robert received Marie's letter, he began to see himself in a different light. He read again the book of Job, and realized what Job meant when he said, "I had a great fear, and it has come upon me." Robert realized that he had been fearful of losing Marie, and that as soon as there seemed to be a possibility of someone else being attracted to her, that fear had come upon him and caused him to become jealous without cause, and that he had lost or was about to lose Marie, who had been more than life to him. So he replied to Marie as follows. Dearest Marie, your sweet letter received. It has opened my heart to understanding and made me see myself as I am. I have read St. Paul on the greatest thing in the world and find that I have not been patient, have not been kind or generous. Above all, I have been jealous without cause. All of these things are not a part of true love. Paul says, faith, hope, and love, but the greatest of these is love. If I had had that great faith which never faileth and which is founded on love, I would not have been jealous. I have been selfish, have sought myself to please, and have not thought enough about you. I am sending a little poem that I have written, entitled The Garden of Love, which I think will express to you fully just how I feel and how I see things now. I have tried to enter the garden of love through the wrong gate, and now I want to enter it through the right gate. I will be happy and trusting, loving and thinking only of you. No more doubts or jealousy will ever be in my mind again, because love will be there, and these foul weeds can never remain where love is. I want you, Marie, and only you. Please forgive and forget and make me happy again. With all the love my heart can send, I am. Hopefully, your own Robert. Dedicated to Marie Stanton, who inspired it. The Garden of Love. Many enter the garden of love through the wrong gate while there really is only one perfect gate. Imagination often leads us into the wrong path. Selfishness. We enter through the gate of selfishness and immediately find ourselves in the dark valley of doubt where the foul weeds of deceit, lack of confidence, malice, greed and jealousy abound. Just on the other side of the valley of doubt lies the mountain of jealousy, which springs from lack of faith, understanding and forgetfulness. From the mountain of jealousy flows the river of hate which has its source in the valley of doubt. This river leads to the sea of unhappiness, sorrow, despair, and death. Unselfishness. We now enter the right gate to the garden of love, where we see a golden sign: unselfishness, which can only lead to love. We enter the garden through the gate of understanding, where a beautiful bed of white lilies grow in all their fragrance. Grasp one quickly and carry it through life, for these are the lilies of faith which smother out all the foul weeds in the garden. Next you will see a fountain of pure water. Touch your lips to it, for it is the water of forgetfulness and it feeds the lily of faith. After this you are ready to pass on through the garden and enjoy the flowers which blossom forth nurtured by the water of love. Among these are self-sacrifice, which is the basis of real love. Then you will find a beautiful flower that many never see at all: confidence. It is beautiful and fragrant and stands near the flower of happiness. You will find the flower of kindness in full bloom beside the rose of charity. Then near the end of the garden there is a tiny flower blooming all alone. It is pale and delicate and few appreciate it until late in life. It is unrewarded kindness. But we do reach it just before we pass into the vale of content, and we realize that the path which leads to love and happiness is only found by helping to lead our fellow travelers through the field of content. When we have progressed thus far, we look for the other entrance to the garden and find that the gate of selfishness has disappeared and the valley of doubt is now covered with the lily of faith, and the mountain of jealousy has been melted into a valley of self-sacrifice. Where the river of hate flowed, we now find a sea of kindness flowing into the ocean of happiness. When we reach the end of the garden, we find the flower of all flowers, its beauty and radiance far outshining the noonday sun. Seek no further, it is the flower of love. Place the lily of faith beside it, nurture it with the water of kindness, and you will have it always. Robert. This was the letter that won Marie, because she agreed with St. Paul that love was the greatest thing in the world. She did not wait to write, but telegraphed, Robert, your sweet letter received, You are my old Robert and I am your Marie and always will be Marie. Marie then wrote the following letter. Dear Robert, I have just wired you because I am happier now than I have ever been and I know that we are always going to be happy. You are going to be my ideal Robert, the way that I want you to be, and I am going to love you and make you so happy that you'll always be that way. I knew all along that it was useless for us to make up until you saw things in the right light and realized that there was no cause for jealousy and that my long years of devotion should have proven my love. Until you could see it that way and make up under those conditions, it would only invite more trouble later. There is really nothing more to say, but to let bygones be bygones, live and love each other and make the future everything we want it to be, because love creates everything and made the world. God is love. The little poem you sent, Loved and Lost, seems very appropriate now, for in it you said that before the pearl is gotten, there must be a broken shell. You did have the broken shell, Robert, and now we are going to mend it. I believe that your aim has been high and honest, and now in future it will tell. I can hardly wait to see you, Robert. I want you to come over next Saturday afternoon, and spend Saturday evening and Sunday with me. I want to look into your trusting eyes again and know that you still love me in the same old way. I want to make you know that I have never loved Edward Mason or anyone else, but have always loved and trusted you. With all the love my heart can give, I am your Marie. P.S. I am enclosing a poem, The Land of Beginning Again. We are really going to begin again, aren't we, Robert, and be more happy than ever? The Land of Beginning Again. I wish that there were some wonderful place, called the Land of Beginning Again, where all our mistakes and all our heartaches, and all of our poor selfish grief, could be dropped, like a shabby old coat, at the door, and never put on again. I wish we could come on it all unaware, like the hunter who finds a lost trail, and I wish that the one whom our blindness had done, the greatest injustice of all, could be at the gates, like an old friend that waits, for the comrade he's gladdest to hail. We would find all the things we intended to do, but forgot and remembered, too late, little praises unspoken, little promises broken, and all of the 1,001 little duties neglected that might have perfected the day for one less fortunate. It wouldn't be possible not to be kind, in the land of beginning again, and the ones we misjudged and the ones whom we grudged, their moments of victory here, would find in the grasp of our loving handclasp, more than penitent lips could explain. For what had been hardest we'd know had been best, and what had seemed loss would be gain, for there isn't a sting that will not take wing, when we faced it and laughed it away, and I think that the laughter is most what we're after, in the land of beginning again. So I wish that there were some wonderful place, called the Land of Beginning Again, where all our mistakes and all our heartaches, and all of our poor, selfish grief, could be dropped, like a shabby old coat, at the door, and never put on again. Louisa Fletcher Tarkington. On a beautiful sunshiny Saturday afternoon on the 23rd of October 1926, as the train wended its way across the prairies for Sherman, Texas, Robert kept watching out of the car window, his face beaming with smiles as he thought of his meeting with Marie. He counted every turn of the wheels because he knew they were bringing him closer to her. When he arrived in Sherman that night, Marie welcomed him with open arms. They spent Saturday and Sunday together and were happier than they had ever been before. He confided to Marie his future plans. Told her that he was working on an invention, and also planning to make some money speculating in stocks and commodities. That he hoped to make a lot of money and prove himself worthy of her, so that her father would consent to their marriage. That he would return with all the hope and faith a man could have in a woman, and with that faith and her love failure was impossible, as there wasn't anything in the world he couldn't do. Marie assured him of her faith and confidence. So long as he had that faith and her love, she knew he could do great things. Said she would willingly wait until he made a success. After Robert returned, he began to study the Bible more than ever, and work out things according to science. He read the book of Ezekiel, and planned on building an airplane along the lines outlined by Ezekiel. Figured that there must be a way to build a plane of this kind which would be the greatest ever, and felt that the day was coming when his country would need the protection of the greatest invention of the age. From reading of the Bible, War seemed inevitable, and Robert believed that the next war would be in the air. He began to read all the magazines along the lines of science and invention and studied the Bible in order to understand natural law and know how to apply it. Robert wrote to Walter telling him that he had been to Sherman to see Marie, that they had made up and that he was supremely happy. He confided to Walter his hopes of a great discovery and told him that with the love of Marie and her faith in him there was nothing he could not do. He had figured out from the Bible that a time of trouble such as the world had never seen would begin in 1927, and would continue until 1932. There would be war, famine and pestilence all over the earth, and that except the time be shortened every human being on the face of the earth would be destroyed according to the Bible. He was anxious to make money to complete his invention to protect his own country because he knew that the United States was yet to face the greatest war in history, and every nation would rise against us. The great gold supply that was gathered by the United States from the beginning of the Great World War had caused commercial jealousy of all other nations, and it would only be a short time before we were at war. Unless we were prepared with modern inventions, we were going to lose the next war. He knew what was coming and wanted to prepare to meet the emergency that was to come. Many letters passed between Robert and Marie during the latter part of 1926. Her letters of love and encouragement helped Robert to make progress in his work. He saved his money and planned for their future. Christmas 1926 was the happiest that Robert had ever known, and wanting Marie to share it with him, he sent her a beautiful ring, wrote her that he had saved his money and was now in position to buy it. The diamond, he said, represented purity, firmness and faith, and symbolized all those things in her and his great trust in her. He told her that he was anxious to get in shape to go to New York to continue his studies, and work and make money and be near his old chum Walter, who had always been a great comfort to him and encouraged him in so many ways. In thanking Robert for the ring, Marie wrote that so long as she lived, she would wear it in honor of him, and as an emblem of faith and trust in the greatest man in the world. That she knew there was nothing he could not do. The little poem entitled, "It Can Be Done," which she sent along, was a great inspiration to Robert when trials, troubles and obstacles arose in the years that followed. It can be done. Somebody said that it couldn't be done, but he, with a chuckle, replied, that maybe it couldn't, but he would be one, who wouldn't say so till be tried. So he buckled right in, with the trace of a grin, on his face. If he worried, he hid it, he started to sing as he tackled the thing, that couldn't be done, and he did it. Somebody scoffed, "Oh, you'll never do that, at least it has never been done." But he took off his coat and he took off his hat, and the first thing we knew he'd begun it, with the lift of his chin, and a bit of a grin, without any doubting or quid dit, he started to sing as he tackled the thing, that couldn't be done, and he did it. There are thousands to tell you it cannot be done, there are thousands to prophesy failure, there are thousands to point out to you, one by one, the dangers that wait to assail you. But just buckle in with a bit of a grin, then take off your coat and go to it, just start in to sing as you tackle the thing, that cannot be done, and you'll do it. On the first day of January 1927, Robert received a beautiful letter of commendation from his employer, Mr. Kenilworth, in which was enclosed a check for $500 as a bonus, and also notice of an advance in his salary of $50 a month. This was very gratifying to Robert, because he felt that he was making progress, and that a man who had made the great success that Mr. Kenilworth had, must have been watching him closer than he thought. He thought that Mr. Kenilworth had seen something in him worthy of advancement, so he only worked harder to show his appreciation. He wrote a letter to his friend Walter in New York telling him of his father's generosity and how much he appreciated it now that he was working, planning and saving his money, hoping to be with Walter in New York soon, where he could start speculating and make a lot of money so that he could complete his great invention and do something to benefit the world. Robert wrote Marie of this good fortune which had come to him in the new year and how it had stimulated his hopes to greater things in the future. He was sure that with her love, he would continue and accomplish every desire that he had hoped for. Marie wrote him beautiful letters of encouragement, filled with love and admiration for the man that she was living for, her ideal. She told him that she was making great progress with her studies and hoped to graduate in a few years and be an honor to him and assist him in his work. She sent a little poem, entitled, Act the man and face it out. Act the man and face it out. Should life's storms be blowing gusty, or the road be hot and dusty, don't give up and pull a face all glum and blue. Cheer up, man, and tackle trouble. If your efforts you redouble, there'll be brighter days ahead awaiting you. Where's the use of whining, moaning, or of wasting time in droning? Never yet have such things pulled a fellow through. When you've trouble you must meet it, that's the proper way to treat it. Always bear in mind results depend on you. Never heed the whiner's chatter, 'tis right deeds that matter, that will pierce the clouds, the roughest pathway span. Every trouble is made lighter, and you'll find your outlook brighter, if you tackle things and face them like a man. If you mean to conquer trouble, you must take it at the double. You must act the man and face the matter out, tackle trouble, gamely fight it. Shirking it will never right it, face it bravely, and your trouble you will rout. Tidbits. Marie wrote of her plans for the future. How she hoped to live to see him the greatest man in the world. How she wanted to one day bring him before her father and show him what her love and confidence in a poor boy had done for him. She wanted her father to be proud of Robert as she was. After all the success, she wanted them to be able to enjoy the closing years of their lives in peace and quiet together, where they could reminisce over the trials, troubles and obstacles overcome which had led to the victory which is always the fruit of true and lasting love. Here follows a poem. After the years, quiet. After the years, quiet. At last, after the years have wrought their will, go build a house of solace for thyself. With things that pleasure thee its rooms upfill. Turn thy soft light, a rose jar on thy shelf. Have there the books thou wilt not read again. So well thou knowest all of their magic old. Have there the lute that silent shall remain. Thy heart all music from its tones of gold. And dream beside thy fire, dream of the guest. That cometh now no more, yet he is there. If so thy soul would shape him, and thy rest. And dream, within a dream with thee will share. Have there all things thou countest as thine own. And what thou wouldst have had, there let it be. But what thou wouldst not let it pass unknown. After the years have wrought their will on thee. And take no more a burden on thy heart. Wrestling, if this be good, if that be ill. And strive no more to better what thou art. With consolation thy whole being fill. And so with quiet lapping thee around. A presence like a God's thy house shall fill. But question not thereof nor even pray. For importuning words such joy might mill. Build thee that house of solace, out of sight. A charm above the door and on the sill. And trouble shall go by thee. 'Tis thy right. At last, after the years have wrought their will. Edith M. Thomas. Robert sent Marie an article entitled, A Standard by Christian D. Larson. He told her that this was going to be his standard for the future, and that following this standard with her love and faith he would accomplish everything that she hoped for him to. A standard. To be so strong that nothing can disturb your peace of mind. To make all your friends see that there is something in them. To look at the funny side of everything and make your optimism come true. To think only of the best, to work only for the best, and to expect only the best. To be just as enthusiastic about the success of others as you are about your own. To forget the mistakes of the past and press on to the greater achievements of the future. To wear a cheerful countenance at all times and give every living creature you meet a smile. To give so much time to the improvement of yourself that you have no time to criticize others. To be too large for worry, too noble for anger, too strong for fear, and too happy to permit the presence of trouble. To think well of yourself and to proclaim this face to the world, not in loud words but in great deeds. To live in the faith that the whole world is on your side so long as you are true to the best that is in you. Christian D. Larson. Marie continued to write him encouraging letters from time to time. Their love affair continued smooth with no troubles or interruptions. Marie was a great reader and was studying carefully, always collecting poems and articles which she thought would help and encourage Robert. One was entitled, "Why the Saints Were Saints." Because they were cheerful when it was hard to be cheerful, and patient when it was hard to be patient, and because they pushed on when they wanted to stand still, and kept silent when they wanted to talk, and were agreeable when they wanted to be disagreeable. Author unknown. And also another one by Herbert Kaufman, reading as follows. Don't let busybodies turn you from the path you have selected. Incredulity and unbelief are quite to be expected. What if butters in do scold you? What if fools try to remold you? If you aren't streaked with yellow such, discouragement won't hold you. Some will doubt you. Lots will flout you. More than one will lie about you. They'll deride you, and decide you. Need an older hand to guide you. Do not listen to the croakers, fight it out once you have commenced it. If you meet with opposition, simply run your head against it. All big things that we know about were won by self-believers. Quitters never have been, nor can they be, achievers. Herbert Kaufman.